Doors closed.
All right, so anyway, welcome back to another video. Let me tell you guys what happened in this day. So the dude that you see sitting across from me, you know, the New York Predators Department sent him on the bus to target me. So while the bus was on its route, you know, they send an unmarked police vehicle. Again, yeah, the bus is going in this direction. The unmarked police vehicle is coming in the downward, the opposite direction which I'm pointing to, which I'm going to right now. Right, so I couldn't get to record, but they turned on their sirens just as they were crossing in front of the bus. They turned their sirens on, right? Using it was a black vehicle, flashing the only blue lights that was flashing, and the sirens. Okay. The next block, a blue and white NY Predator Department SUV drove by the bus, turned the sirens on. All right, about a couple blocks later, not far from where I got off the bus, another blue and white passed by with you know, no sirens though, right? And I noticed that every time that, you know, there's a police vehicle, what have you, this dude would, you know, do some hand signals or he stick his fingers in his ears. So again, the blue and white that passed by with no sirens, no lights on, he stuck his finger in his ears, and then he kept looking at the bottle. So this is what they do, right? So someone stuck a bottle, you know, in the back of the bus seat, right? And he kept looking at the bottle. I'm just like, okay, you know, so what is it about the bottle, right? One, it's a soda bottle, right? There's no soda in there, right? And the color of the bottle, right? It was, you know, red, white, and you had, I couldn't tell the cover, what cover it was, but anyhow. All the things that they do in targeting, right? The use of colors, the use of, you know, it's like the water bottle said this is a soda bottle, or what have you. But anyhow, as I was, let me just go back a bit. So when Pam came in, like I said, I was, you know, talking to her about that. So I got off track, and I don't want to forget about this. So, you know, when she says to me, when I talk about, yeah, you know, the airport, she says to me, oh yeah, that to keep us safe. And I'm saying to myself, right, why is it that these women, particularly, you know, women in general, not just black women, but women in general, never seem to stop and think and say, you know what, the reason why we need all of this, you know, all of this stuff is happening is because a group of people, right, who have a dark triad personality traits, right, psychopathic, sociopathic, Machiavellian, how they wage war, right? How they assassinate democratically elected presidents, right? Now remember, these countries are supposed to be democratic, right? But they don't push, they say they want democracy, but they don't push democracy. What they do is that they assassinate democratically elected leaders, who nationalize their country's natural resources, and because of that, countries like America, France, Britain, Belgium, Netherlands, right? What do? What do? They assassinate these presidents, and they install puppet regime, and they train this puppet regime army to do what? Brutalize the citizens of those countries. So, again, these people created the situation. And this is what I want people to understand, particularly black people, right? This is what they do. They create situations, right? And then, then they like, okay, well, you know what? Well, now we're going to do this and this because we don't want these people to come back and harm us, right? I mean, what kind of shit is that? You know what I'm saying? What kind of shit is that? And the fact that she thinks that is okay, how they can invade your privacy, how they can, in such a way, as such, just lead me to understand that, these are the gatekeepers. These are the gatekeepers among us, particularly the black people. The gatekeepers among us as black people is usually these Sambos and Sambinas, right? And guess what? They can do whatever it is that they want, right? They can do whatever it is that they want. No one is talking to her about, not bringing our kids to school on time. The school not saying nothing to her. The school is talking to me about it. I don't know why they're talking to me about it. I don't bring, I keep telling them, I say, they know. We don't live together. Pick up my daughter. There are times when maybe I'll drop off in the morning if I stay over there, but I don't do that. I'm not doing that because, again, talk about somebody who don't apologize, who don't want to be held accountable, who will do whatever, and who thinks that I should read her mind, because they have her under control. And of course, they use your job, right? They use your job to control you, to manipulate you. For me, this is why they succeed more with black women as opposed to black men in terms of gatekeeping and trying to destroy the black community, right? Particularly our children. They willingly, and I say willingly because they are being psychologically manipulated, and they're going along with the manipulation for the sake of what? Sleeping with whoever. And that's what they do. That's what they do. They're trying to, you sleep with white people, sleep with white men, whatever. And like white women, for me, don't really attract me as a black woman. And I know the history. Why would I subject myself to sleeping with somebody who I know in the back of their mind, if I get into an argument with them, they're going to turn around and call me nigga? Or if we're in the bedroom and having sex, they're going to be like, oh, give me your nigga dick. You know what I'm saying? But black women engage in those sort of race play, and they love to hear white men say that to them. They, just as how, you see, black men, we don't, if black men fetishize black women, it isn't in a sexual way. It is more of, they need a white woman by their arm so they can move up the Hollywood ladder or what have you. Black women do the same thing too, except white men engage in race play more so with black women, and black women stay in those relationships because of the economic benefit that they get. And mind you, it's not a huge economic benefit, right? Unless they're with that man in the beginning of his career. But other than that, which is very few. Other than that, they're not getting that economic thing. And if they get a divorce, that money ain't going back into the black community. They're going to other white men. You understand what I'm saying? So again, like I said, you date whoever you want to date. Love whoever you want to date. But when it comes to dating, if you're a black person or Asian person, Hispanic people, when it comes to dating white men, you have to be aware that more than likely that person would fetishize you, whether it be a white man or a white woman. You are going to be fetishized. All right? So, like I said, for me, for me and her to get on a level that's even agreeable, she gotta go to therapy. And I'm not talking about intimate, sexually, right? She gotta, because, I would not get into a relationship with her, most likely I wouldn't even sleep with her. But if it does happen, it'll just be that. It'll just be that and nothing else, right? Because why? She's not willing to change who she is. She's not willing to apologize. She's not willing to come to me in good faith. That's what it's a good faith, but in good in good trying to find out the word to use here. Good intentions. She's not willing to come to me with good intentions. No. Why would you subject yourself to that? Right? And again, this is why we keep butting heads, because she don't, I can't tell her nothing. Like I tell her today, my son, he's been she went out Saturday, came late, kids were up all night till after 3 in the morning, minutes to 4, knowing that they have school on Monday, and she lets them sleep until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And then she comes in and she's like, Ethan sleeping, and not want to accept her responsibility as the reason why. Right? Let me tell you, when I hear my kids talk about how, that she used to leave them at home all night. Right? This is during COVID, because she wants to go out and do whatever she wants to do. And she don't want to take any responsibility that what she's done is train them, right, in the way that they are. And look, when I'm there, I make sure they keep for that. For her, none of that stuff, right? And she wants to bear no responsibility. She wants to put it all on them. It is them. And that's the majority of black mothers today. I shouldn't say black mothers, but Negro peer mothers today. They want kids to raise themselves. Okay, because they want to go out there and have fun and be the second, third string of a man who they, not even respect, but because of the attention, because of the fantasy, right? And so that's what they, it's the fantasy that's so thrilling to them, and they love that, right? They love that. Like I was talking to the guy in my mom's building last night, I said, the majority of women who catch and who are infected and spread STD the most are women, black women. The majority of children who are born with congenital STDs, they're from black women, right? The majority of people group today that is every year after year have a high rate of HIV infection is black and the black women, right? And particularly black gay men. But again, I want you to understand how they are allowed to engage in such behavior and not be held accountable. Because why? It's a gender war. And those in the authoritative position will side with them, right? Because they want to have their allegiance. Those within the churches will side with the black women, who we can clearly see, and again, you look at who have been diagnosed with the most mental illness today. Black women. Right? Engaging in sexual behavior because they feel, well, if a man can do it, I can do it. Yeah, you can do it, but you got to understand the psychological effect and the biological effect. Right? Men are built a certain way. Women are built a certain way. Women are not built to behave like men. Particularly when it comes to sex. Right? When I say when it comes to sex, meaning that sleeping with, a man can sleep with 100 women and not give a damn. A woman cannot sleep with 100 men and not care, and not give. And a matter of fact, the negative psychological effect and the trauma that she's going to experience, right, is going to ruin her for the rest of her life. Right? So they don't tell you about the psychological effect of sleeping with a lot of men. And for men too. There is a psychological effect when sleeping with a lot of women, but it's not the same. It is not the same. Okay? Because with men, emotions somewhat is a part of it, but for women, emotion is a huge part of it. And this is what they don't tell them. So because we're not educated, we might be educated on sex, but we're not educated on the biological effect, the negative biological effect, and the negative psychological effect of it. We're not educated on those things. So again, when you have a woman who has been sleeping around, go from men to men, right? It's more harder for her to stay in a relationship and be committed in a relationship. Right? A man can sleep with 100 women and he can be committed in his marriage going forward. But not a woman. Because men, we don't go to sleep having fantasies about, especially when we're in a relationship, about our exes sleeping with our exes. We don't do that. That's not how we're built. That's not who we are. But for women, that is. Right? A woman could find a man, marry a man, be the best man for her. Right? Sex is good. But she'd always remember that one dude, right, that she had sex with that was unlike anything she's ever experienced. And she will always be thinking about that. Right? Or she may at one point had a relationship with a woman. Right? And think about that. Particularly when she's upset with that man. This is what happens when you don't teach women about their psychological makeup as well as their biological makeup. Right? This is why you have women who have 3, 4 kids in their 40s. Talking about, I'm looking for a man that I can travel and this and that. Well, but they never bring up their kids, and they have young kids. And never seem to even think, well, I want a man with all that, but he has to also take care. And they'll tell you, he has to also take care of my kids, right? But with no thought of how, look at me, I'm credit to the department. With no thought of how she and her situation would be a financial strain on that man. Because all she's thinking about is her happiness and finding a provider for her and her kids. Is she thinking about that man's happiness? Okay? Now, if that man is a multi-millionaire and he can do it and he love you, hey, good for you. But most men can't. And these women don't think about that. They don't think about that. Because like I said, what they've conditioned our women is that as they get older, their minds get younger. Right? And that's the sad truth that they'll never understand. And that's why I said, my brothers, listen, you gotta just walk away and leave them be. If they're not willing to be held accountable, if they're not willing to go get therapy, because they'll tell you in a heartbeat, you need to go get therapy. Right? Because it's all your fault. So you need to get, they, again, never seeing how they contribute to the failure of the relationship or of the marriage. It is always, particularly for black women, it is always the black man's fault. Right? So they can date white men can leave them for other white women and this and that. Right? And they don't say white men, they don't think disparagingly about white men. But black men now, oh, forget that. I've seen it. We've seen it. You've seen it. So we gotta, as black men moving forward, we gotta understand what's going on. We gotta know that, this is a war that's being waged on us by, these white racists and these Sambos and Sambinas. And, and these women are not on our side. These women are all about themselves and what it is that they want, and not understanding that they too are being used. They're being used. But, they know how to make them feel good. Or either by telling them what they want to hear, right? Or giving them that fantasy type of life, and it's not all the time now. Remember, it's just temporary. And they're content with that. They're happy with that. Like I said, you gotta, you have to want your peace. This is how they want their peace, but their peace is not really peace, right? Their peace is delusion. All right, talk to you guys next video.